Yes, sir. We are back. It's been a minute since we hit one of these recaps. Specifically today, we're actually going to talk about one of the, in my opinion, one of the biggest economic indicators and really conversations that's going on right now, which is the K-shaped economy. So we're going to jump on in. I'm going to share screen, but I'm going to make sure y'all see the whole thing because we got a few slides that I'm going to walk through to give a better explanation on how this works, what it means, but also what steps you can take to ensure that you are on the right side of it. So, in my personal and professional opinion, I definitely think these are the type of the conversations we need to be having. If you're trying to build wealth, if you're trying to protect your family, or even just trying to figure out like what are these rules to the game, right? And what I feel like is changing for me. So K-shaped economy, as I just mentioned. So it may sound like something like, yo, is this something that we learned in finances, or is it probably I'm having a tough time with my terms today. But I promise you, but by the time we finish up this episode, you're probably gonna see it everywhere because this is going to give you some insight and an understanding of just how these things work. So either in your neighborhood or if it's in the news or even in your own bank account, you're going to know, and we want you to know exactly what to do about it. So what this K-shaped economy is, and why it keeps happening, because it's not new. What it looks like exactly is what you see. It's the K. And so even within this presentation, you see this dotted line going down the middle, you see this green line going up, and you see this red line going down. And so even with the current economic environment, we're going to make sure that you have some tangible steps that you can take to make sure that you are climbing that upper arm of the K. And so what this represents, right, is the basics. So the letter K is exactly what we're talking about. So when an economy experiences a shock, and we're going to go through some of the historical moments when that has happened, if it's either through a recession, if it's either through the pandemic, if it's either through a financial crisis, we would typically think that this graph here would be turned on its side, like more like a letter V, but that's not actually the case. Everything goes down, everything goes back up together, like the letter V. But unfortunately, it's not a situation where everybody suffers and then everybody recovers. It doesn't work like that. Instead, what we're seeing is this split. And that's why this K-shaped economy is very, very important. And it hits a shock. So let's say 2020, it separates. So there's a group of people that are invested in the stock market, that have real estate. They may be landlords or developers. They're business owners, executives, entrepreneurs, high income professionals, those with some type of diversified savings, right? Like it separates those that own assets. They end up shooting upward. That's that green line that we see here. Unfortunately, their wealth, well, I'll just say fortunately for them, their wealth not only recovers in shocks like this, it actually accelerates. So now, and this is the unfortunate part. So there's this other group, right? This red part where the lower arm, the wage earners, right? So these are the folks that you would consider as working class Americans. So you got your hourly workers and people who don't own significant assets, as we talked about, either through the stock market or through real estate or, some of the other examples. Not only during this shock, they struggle, but they continue to struggle because their wages may go up a little bit, but that cost of living is outrunning them. So the cost of buying food, the cost of being able to take care of your family, that is increasing, but the money that you're making on a month-to-month basis, on a year-to-year basis, unfortunately, that is not increasing at that same rate. And so what does that create? That creates the letter K, right? And so as you can see, green, red, and you're using that yellow line as that background there, and you can see that K really start to form out. So here's what I want you to understand. This economy, and typically when folks think about the economy, is only through the form of income, right? Oh, K-shaped economy, income. No, not necessarily. It's really about asset ownership. So the people going up aren't necessarily the ones making the most money from their jobs. They're making more money because the things they own appreciate. stocks, real estate, businesses. So when a Federal Reserve lowers interest rates or pumps money into the economy, those assets go up in value. And guess who benefits? The people who already own them. Now, this lower arm, they largely depend on wages. Like, hey, yo, I need my money coming in and I need it coming in on time. And wages, when you account for inflation, have barely moved for the average Americans, especially over the last 20 years. So putting this into context. So before you think about this is some brand new phenomenon, I want to be very clear. The K-shaped economy has happened before multiple times, and understanding history is going to be very important. So just as a recap, upper arm, those that have assets, those that have real estate, they're invested in the stock market, they have investment portfolios, business owners. And again, typically those are in high income, right? And so that asset ownership is very, very important. This lower arm, right? These are typically hourly workers or wage dependent households. If you're living paycheck to paycheck, renters with no property equity, workers in automatable routine occupations. So something that could typically be replaced by AI in some form or fashion. Those carrying high interest consumer debt, and then households without investment accounts. These are the folks that are on that bottom arm of that K.